If you mention the fabulous Hudson Hornet to a certain age group, they will immediately identify with Doc Hudson, one of the stars of the animated Pixar film Cars, played by the legendary Paul Newman.
Now that's racing.
Fact doesn't stray too far from fiction in the film, because everything about the Hudson Hornet was indeed legendary and fabulous. A world of wonder, where fantastical music machines provide the soundtrack for a tantalizing stroll through history. Vintage automobiles and memorabilia stimulate the senses around every chromed curve and corner. This is Inside Stahls. Old Doc Hudson may not be a real-life character, but Lightning McQueen's mentor in the movie Cars has a backstory that's rooted in NASCAR's history books and is as tightly wound as the steering wheel on this 1951 Hudson Hornet, showcased here at Stahls. It's all intertwined, but you can't tell the story of this car without the magic of movie making, the history of NASCAR, and the department store mogul that at one point was the third largest automobile manufacturer in the United States. Hudson Motor Car Company was founded in 1909 by Roy Chapin and a bunch of his University of Michigan engineering friends. J.L. Hudson, yes, that Hudson, provided the financing. In the early years, Hudson had a reputation for building high-quality, reasonably priced automobiles. But in the post-war era, Hudson's popularity exploded, not in the showroom, but first on the racetrack. In 1951, NASCAR driver and mechanic Marshall Teague walked into the Hudson's plant in Detroit, Michigan, and asked if Hudson's would supply cars for his race teams. Hudson agreed, becoming the first American auto manufacturer to support stock car racing. To Teague's credit, he realized Hudson's cars were over-engineered and overbuilt, which made them perfect for racing. Hudson made auto racing part of its advertising and marketing strategy and did everything it could to make their team cars go faster. And boy, did they. In 1948, Hudson developed a unibody construction that featured a step-down design. Instead of typical cars at the time, which featured a body over frame design, the Hornet's floorboards were placed below the frame. The passenger would step down into the car. The unibody construction was lighter and the lower center of gravity enhanced the handling of the car. It was everything a racer wanted but couldn't find in a stock race car. Teague christened the Hudson Hornets as fabulous, and that's how the name came to be painted on the side of the cars. More than anything, racers want to go fast, and the Hornet was powered by the legendary Twin H. The Super 6-cylinder engines featured high compression, and they were bored and stroked to increase displacement. It featured twin single-barrel carburetors with larger bowls and improved fuel distribution. When tuned by men like Teague, the Twin H produced more horsepower and dominated the larger 8-cylinder motors run by the competition. Which leads us to a man named Herb Thomas, the real-life inspiration for Doc Hudson in the movie Cars. You see, I told you this was all intertwined. Thomas, to this day, owns the greatest winning percentage in NASCAR history, and most of his wins came behind the wheel of a Hornet. After switching to a Hornet midway through the 1951 season, he went on to win the 51 championship. In 1953, he would pilot his number 92 fabulous Hudson Hornet to 12 wins, becoming the first two-time series champ and one of the first stars of the sport. In Cars, Doc Hudson turns out to be the real fabulous Hudson Hornet, with many of his Piston Cup records mirroring those of Herb Thomas. While Thomas drove the number 92, Doc sported the number 51 in the movie, in honor of the 1951 Hudson Hornet, like this one. You see, it's all coming together. But wait, there's more. The 51 was never actually run by one of Hudson's NASCAR Hornets, but the 92 of Herb Thomas lives on to this day. After winning the championship in 1953, Thomas sold the car to someone that lived down south. Years later, it was discovered in a barn in eastern Kentucky. The serial numbers matched. It was restored and is now owned by Michigan collector Al Schultz. It has been featured at historical automotive events around the country, at the Henry Ford Museum and in the Automotive Heritage Museum in Ypsilanti, among others. It is the only remaining factory racing Hornet in existence today and the oldest NASCAR winning car known to exist. Today, it is officially part of the National Historical Vehicle Registry. Which brings us back to this 1951 Hudson Hornet convertible here at Stahls. It was never a race car, it never served as the inspiration for an animated movie character, but it is rare. It's one of only 551 Hudson Hornet convertibles ever made, and just one of a few remaining examples powered by that famous Twin H. Besides the power and handling, in 1951 you could order a Hornet as loaded as your drunk uncle. This Hornet buzzes with extras, like the Kelsey Hayes wire wheels, the Hudson Script spot lamp, front-mounted fog lamps, radio, heater, power windows, bumper guards, and sexy wheel skirts that accentuated the pontoon styling and sleek appearance that appealed to so many buyers. Hudson was one of the first manufacturers to figure out if you win on Sunday, it sells on Monday. In 1951, Hudson sold over 43,000 units, making it the third largest car company in the country at the time. Unfortunately, it could not be sustained. Hudson's unibody design made it difficult to compete with other manufacturers' styling updates. It was also becoming more costly to produce, and Hudson eventually merged with Nash and moved manufacturing to Kenosha, Wisconsin. The last Hornet built in Detroit rolled off the assembly line on October 30th, 1954. They clearly don't make them like this anymore, but the Hornet name has resurfaced over the years. From 1970 to 1977, AMC made a compact sedan under the Hornet moniker. My dad owned one. Those cars sucked. Chrysler eventually bought the name in 1987, and in 2003 released a mid-size SUV with the Hornet name. I know. In 1951, you could order a Hornet almost as many ways as you could order a steak. Two-door coupe, four-door sedan, convertible, pillowless hardtop, or well done. Depending on your options, you could get a Hornet anywhere from $2,500 to a little over $3,000. Weighing in at over 3,600 pounds, that's less than $1 per pound. You can't buy a steak for less. Again with the steak thing. All right, anyway, as far as the stories go here at Stahls, there's a lot of meat on this bone. Again, was that another steak thing? At this point, I might as well just go with it. Oh, and what do we have here? But like the Hudson Hornet, there's always a heaping helping of history available anytime you stroll the aisles here at Stahls. I am hungry. Bon appetit. Harvey, Charlie?